What's up, fellas? Welcome to a brand new episode of The Sports Student. My name is Wendell Epps, aka The Sports Student. In today's episode, I will be joined by longtime play-by-play voice of the Atlanta Hawks, Bob Rathbun. In this podcast, Bob will talk about his experiences working for the Hawks and share some great advice for aspiring play-by-play announcers. So sit back, relax, enjoy the podcast, and without further ado, this is a Sports Student interview with Bob Rathbun. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am joined by a very special guest on my podcast. I have Bob Rathbun with me. Bob, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. How's your summer been going and how are you doing?
Well, it's going great. We had a terrific run with the Hawks, as you know, going to the Eastern Conference Finals, 2 wins away from the NBA Finals, and that just ended about a week ago. So it's been a busy summer, but a fun summer. How about you?
My summer's been great, just doing a little bit of work, also taking time to relax, have fun. So getting ready to start third year of college, just chilling.
Nice.
So first thing I want to ask you, Bob, obviously you being the longtime play-by-play voice for the Atlanta Hawks, they did have an incredible season. Like that is not an understatement at all. Incredible year for the Hawks. I just want to know, being the play-by-play voice for them, how exciting was it just to see the Hawks go so far in the playoffs, put up a very competitive fight against the Milwaukee Bucks? Just how was that?
Oh, it was terrific. And it was the way that we ended the regular season that sort of set the stage for us. We played so well, particularly at home. So we had a lot of momentum going into the playoffs. And then we took care of the Knicks in 5 games. I think that got everybody's attention. We were clearly the better team. And then to upset the top seed in the East, Philadelphia, was really incredible. To win 3 road games and win game 7 in Philadelphia was amazing. And then probably if Trey doesn't get hurt, we might still be playing. So it was a great run. And it was exciting for a lot of reasons, certainly for the coaching staff and the players, the whole organization, but just to see the city come alive over the Hawks. It was incredible. They packed the arena each home game. You know, we didn't have fans until the playoffs began. So that was, weird in itself to go through the season with no fans. And then boom, all of a sudden they're selling standing room only tickets. That was pretty incredible. TV ratings through the roof. City on fire. They cannot wait for the Hawks season to start. And I don't know that that's ever happened in the 50-some years they've been here.
Yeah, definitely was an incredible season for sure. And the thing that just fascinated me the most about the Hawks and their playoff run was, obviously we know it all started with Trae Young, but the cool thing was that it was a total team effort in the series that they won. And then even in the series against the Bucks, everyone was getting involved. And it really just showed like how complete of a team the Hawks were.
Yeah, despite the injuries. I mean, we had so many guys out. We lost DeAndre Hunter after the Knicks series. After getting him back, we waited for 3 months to get him back. And then we get him back. The knee goes out again. He has surgery. So we don't have him for Philadelphia. We didn't have Cam Reddish for 4 months. And all of a sudden he comes back the last 3 games against Milwaukee, and he looks like, Karl Malone and LeBron James rolled into one. He's hitting threes. He's dunking the ball. He's rebounding. So he really gave us a big pick-me-up at the end of the Milwaukee series. So we were able to accomplish some pretty amazing things, despite the fact that not one day, not one practice, not once did we have everybody healthy.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the NBA, unfortunately, is you got injuries, a lot of injuries, obviously, this past season, but you guys obviously fought through it tremendously, and the Hawks just definitely earned the respect of the entire NBA. So I'm definitely looking forward to see just how the Hawks are going to go for the next couple of years, because it's a young team, a lot of talent, and I definitely see a lot of potential for the future years.
Yeah, no question. They got it going because that core group that they grew through the draft, they're all from 20 to 23 years old. So they haven't even hit their prime yet. And they've got a wealth of experience behind them now. So future's very bright.
For sure, for sure. So now I just want to go ahead and I want to talk to you, Bob, about your experience just being a play-by-play announcer. If you don't mind, can you tell me just like, where did it all start before even you got with the Hawks? Where did this whole play-by-play aspiration come from, and how did you get to where you are today?
I started when I was 12 years old. I got to broadcast a half an inning of an American Legion baseball game, not too far from High Point University in Salisbury, North Carolina. That's my hometown. That's where I grew up. And I got to do a half an inning of a game, sort of on a lark. I was invited to come to the station as a kid. And one Sunday, the sports guy showed up and said, well, help us broadcast these Legion games. And the reason they were on the radio, which was very unique at that time, was because they were so good. They were state champs, perennial power, and still are to this day. And every game, the whole town was turned on. You know, the entire county came together to form the team. And so every game was on the radio. And one night I got to the ballpark and the announcer said, are you ready to make your debut? And I said, well, I guess I am. And I got to do a half an inning, and our first baseman hit a home run that night. And I got to call that. I was not on the air again until my voice changed. When I was probably 19, I was a sophomore. I went to Catawba, and the sports guy left, and they asked me if I'd take over. And I've been at this ever since. Started in the radio, moved over to TV, and can't imagine doing anything else.
That's awesome. I mean, I did not start when I was 12 years old. That's very remarkable to say that. I started when I was 18, not too long ago. But just tell me, like, how vital would you say it is for someone that's trying to get into play-by-play to start early and just get those reps as early as possible?
Yeah, for me, I'm a little atypical, of course. Most guys don't know what they want to do with their lives when they're 12, but I knew that I wanted to be in that radio station and do games. So I never had any doubt. I never had any second thoughts about what I was doing, and was learning from guys that turned out to be Hall of Fame broadcasters. The guy who let me do that half inning was Marty Brenneman, who, is in the Baseball Hall of Fame, the longtime voice of the Cincinnati Reds. So in Salisbury, also unique to my getting started, was the home for many years to the National Sportscasters and Sports Writers Association. It's now based in Winston-Salem. And every year they had an annual award ceremony. And when I was 16, I got drafted onto the transportation committee, which was nothing more than take a car and go to the airport and pick up these guys at the airport and bring them back to Salisbury. But in my back seat, I had all the legends of the industry. And I got a chance to ask them and pick their brains, of course. But what it did, I think, more than anything, is it demystified the business for me. They just kept telling me just to work hard and learn your craft and work at it every day, and you'll get your chance. And they were right. That's the same advice I give to young broadcasters is, if it's in your heart that this is something you want to do, you won't mind the long hours and the low pay getting started. But to do play-by-play, go, if you can't do it for a team, just crawl up to the top of the bleachers and do it into your computer and record it. Get the reps, get the reputation. And as you learn how to do it, you'll get better at it. And then when you think you're decent, have somebody else listen to it that's in the business that can give you some pointers. It's nothing more than storytelling. So the earlier that you can learn to be a good storyteller, whether that's play-by-play, whether it is studio or a talk show or whatever the case may be, become a good storyteller and you got half the battle down.
No, that's definitely a great point you make there, Bob. I mean, I've had that opportunity, a unique opportunity to already get reps in thanks to my amazing school in High Point University. And that's something that I try to make sure I kind of take into stride. I make sure I develop my own craft. I try to develop my own unique style. And right. I just want to get your opinion on that. How important would you say it is for a play-by-play announcer to develop their own style and kind of be unique in a sense to separate themselves from the rest of the competition?
Well, it's crucial because everything else has been taken, but there's only one of you. And right. You bring your unique experiences, your unique take on the games. I think getting started, one of the hardest shifts that you have to make is it's not about you,
Yes.
Because your young announcers are always worried about how they sound and how they look and, what's the next job going to be like and how can I, get to the big leagues or Sports Center or whatever. But when you flip it and realize that you're there for your audience, that you're trying to the best of your ability to describe tonight's game to these people who, if you're on the radio, you can't see it. Can you pull that off? Can I sit there with my eyes closed and listen to you on the radio and understand what's going on with this game? Who's what team? Who's on offense? Who's on defense? What color uniforms? Is it hot out? How many people are there? What, weather conditions, all that stuff. Can you make me feel like I'm right there in the booth with you? And of course, that's a lifetime's work. It's not something you get once and then, oh, okay, I'm set. So I think one of the biggest things for young broadcasters is to develop your storytelling capability. Whether it's, of course, radio, you got a blank canvas, but television, you're filling in subtitles for what's on the screen. And can you tell a story or have a stat or interact with your color person at the right time where it makes sense to what the viewer is seeing? Because the picture is what drives it, and you're just filling in the pieces. But in terms of storytelling, learn how to speak well, obviously, and then learn how to write well, because you're going to have to, at some point, come up with some scripts for matching words to picture. And the faster you can develop that skill, the better off you'll be in television.
Absolutely. It's definitely important to have a variety of skills, knowing how to talk, knowing how to write, knowing how to interpret stuff and things of that nature. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on how the sports media industry has evolved over the course of time, because you've been in it for a long time now and you've done some incredible things. For you, how have you seen the sports media industry evolve, and where do you kind of see it taking off in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, I wish I knew. What's in store for you guys? I have no idea. It has changed dramatically. The younger generation just doesn't understand a world without cell phones and internet and watching again. I'll just give you an example of how it's changed. Okay. When I was starting out, 19 years old, broadcasting those American Legion baseball games that I started on when I was 12, a guy kept stats from me. My best friend, went to high school with him, and he would keep stats from me. And he would hold up to his ear during our broadcast a transistor radio. Do you know what a transistor radio is?
I have heard what that is. I think I know what it looks like, but I don't have that
like
exact
cell phone, only it's
Okay.
a radio.
Okay.
And it's at night, you could get all these out of town stations. Now it's an app on your phone.
Yeah.
But back then, you literally had to tune to 750 WSB in Atlanta and listen on the transistor. And when Milo Hamilton and Ernie Johnson would give us out-of-town score on the Braves radio network, my buddy would write it down, okay, and hand it to me. Well, in the top of the fourth, Cincinnati leads San Francisco 2-1. Okay. Now today, I can go to that same American Legion baseball game, and on my phone, not only can I listen to the game, I can watch the game between Cincinnati and San Francisco, sitting in my seat at Newman Park on the Catawba College campus. That is how much it has changed. The consumption by media is overwhelming. There are so many ways to get content, whether it's social media, whether it's broadcast media, whether it is satellite, radio, you name it. It's mushroomed as to how you can consume it. You can watch any game in the world at any time, practically. And that is a major, major shift in sports media. And what it has done, it has opened up a million more avenues for guys and gals to do this.
Now I want to talk about just kind of your routine. Take me through a normal day, a normal game day when you're getting ready to call a Hawks game. What is it like? You wake up in the morning. What's a whole day like leading up to the game?
Yeah, I don't know if there is such a thing as a normal game day. But, I get this question quite often, and you've got to find your own rhythm and pace and style and what works best for you. I am one of those people, because of the age I am and the way that I grew up and the way I was taught, okay, that I just think you got to be really thorough in your game preparation. And it takes a long time. How many hours? I don't know. There isn't a day that goes by that I'm not preparing. It might not be game specific, particularly this time of the year, but I spent probably a couple hours this morning going through the clippings and newspaper stories and all that stuff just to see, like, a lot of draft stuff is coming in. So I have a filing system where you can save audio, video, and print. I use Evernote. It works for me. It costs $50 a year, unlimited storage, and it will take video, audio, everything. So I just throw it in. I got a file for every team, and college and pro, because I still do college basketball. And I just start saving stories. And like the NBA draft, I'll just throw them in. And when the kid gets drafted, then I'll put him with his team, and I'll have it the next time we play that particular team. But I have on a game day, I have a checklist of about 25 things that I go through to make sure that I have either researched or, gotten my game sheet together or whatever the case may be. I check them all. And if I don't, I just don't feel like I'm totally prepared for that game. And it's everything from both teams, both coaching staffs, the stats, the obligations of television for that night, all those things, the reads that I got to make, the billboards I got to read, all that stuff. I just go through, check them off, and make sure I've got them all taken care of. So how long does it take? I don't know. Probably somewhere between 8 and 12 hours to get ready for a game. Because I watch a lot of video too. I'll watch the other team and the clips and what have you. So just ongoing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know it definitely takes a lot of preparation time to make sure you're fully prepared for a game. And I kind of want to know, because like you being in the NBA and like calling games for so many years and sort of seeing the same teams, obviously we know players shift around each and every single season, but for you, have you found it just getting like easier and easier because you're just so familiar with the NBA and all the teams?
It does. But it's like a balance.
Right.
It gets easier, but how can I make the fourth game of this series different and better than games 1, 2, and 3? Mm-hmm. Same team, same players, everything else. But that's the challenge of this, is to how do you keep it fresh? And one thing I would like to say about preparation for my young broadcasters out there is that whatever you research online, anybody in the world can read the same stories. You will get your best stuff by talking to people. Talk to coaches, talk to the players, then go back and connect the dots. Like if you're doing a high point basketball game, okay, and you talk to Tubby, getting ready for that game that night, he may say something about coaching Rajon Rondo at Kentucky, or, coaching, what happened at Georgia or something. He may just say it in passing. But if you take that story and then go back and read, well, what was he talking about? What game and what season and blah, blah, blah. And you go back and research it. Now you've got a great nugget, maybe not for that game that night, but a great nugget that you can plug in later down the road, that the research comes after you get the good story from the coach. And I do that all the time. Constantly talking to the other broadcasters, constantly talking to the coaches and players, what's new, what's going on. Did you go against this guy in AAU? Those kinds of things.
I love that, because I think that's definitely very important. You're right. We can find almost anything now on the internet nowadays, and you want to make sure you bring in unique stories in the broadcast, because there will be points in the broadcast where the game may be getting a little dry or whatnot, and you need to throw things to keep it fresh and innovative. And I want to also just get your point on your relationship kind of with the Hawks players, and what's it just been like? Because I know we talked about earlier in the podcast of how the Hawks just had an incredible season, but obviously this was a year where they finally were able to get in the playoffs. It's been a couple of years. Just how was it like talking to them based on their expressions? What did you sense from them of how excited they were to be able to just make it far in this season?
Yeah, well, this was their first time for many of them in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a very unique experience for them. And for a guy like Trae Young, he just relished it. I mean, he loved the stage. He loved everything about it. Nobody could stop him. You average 30 points and 10 assists in the playoffs, you're doing something special, because the other team is doing everything they can to stop you.
Right.
So he's a pretty special guy. But it was just great to see them all, rise to the occasion, because nobody knew. And you don't know. you just don't know who's going to be able to do it and who can't. I was talking to a guy on the West Coast this morning. We got talking about the Kings, and they were talking about De'Aaron Fox, terrific player out of Kentucky and never tasted the playoffs. And they think he'll be great, but you never know until he gets there. And he may be the next, phenom if Sacramento can get in. So it's those kinds of things that I was so impressed with what the Hawks did.
Yeah. I mean, especially like you said with Trey, I mean, his playoff run was absolutely incredible. And I also just love how Trae Young kind of gave me some flashes of the old school basketball. I grew up, I started watching basketball around 2007, 2008. That's kind of when the era started to change a little bit, but just Trey, you could just really sense his passion. And that's what I love about the NBA is that there's a lot of players that have great love and passion for the game. But with Trey, it's like on a whole nother level. And it's just really fascinating.
Yeah, he's good. He's very good.
He is very good for sure. So can I ask you, let me ask you if there was ever, because sometimes with broadcasts before, after, during, sometimes there can be unexpected things that happen. Is there like a funny story you have that you can share where something different happened from what you were probably anticipating?
Nothing really comes to mind. I think it's more the unexpected finish.
Right.
That happens, where you score 8 points in 14 seconds, like a Reggie Miller or something like that. But I'd have to go back and research that one. And nothing comes to, there are great moments, but I think it's the unexpected, like the Hawks did this year. Nobody expected them to win. Those are the ones you really enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. How is that? Calling the last final minutes of an NBA game, because I've had the opportunity to call a few clutch, and I know it's fun.
That's what the pro game's all about.
Yeah.
Get to that last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter, everything's set up, for the grand finale. So you got to be ready, have a history of what the guys have done, who's hit the big game winners, and if they've done it against that team or in that building. If it's at home, you got a whole catalog of great finishes over the years, and then see how it plays out. This finish is going to be unique. It's not going to be like anything else. So be ready for it. Be ready for the unexpected.
For sure. I mean, that's honestly what sports is definitely all about. And where do you see the NBA kind of going? Because we've seen the NBA, it's kind of transitioned into more of like a small ball game now. Do you see it sticking that way? And kind of what else do you see changing and maybe staying right now?
Yeah, it'll be small ball till the next Shaquille O'Neal shows up. And then we'll go back to a big man in the post, some guy that's 350 pounds and throws weight around. But I think the center's coming back, Embiid. It's a different type of big man, Nurkic and Jokic and those guys, they're huge, but they can move, Jokic was our MVP, a point center. So the game will change, but the big man will always be around.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that, because I definitely nothing's better than seeing a talented big man run around that floor and doing what they do best. And how do you feel now about we know with college recently, athletes starting to be able to make income, and then we know the G League route overseas. There seems to be just like so many routes that you can take to going into NBA. What are kind of your thoughts on that, and then also the importance sort of AAU also being a big thing in a player's development?
Yeah, it's the best experience to get ready for the NBA, no question, is college basketball.
Yes.
You're going to be put in situations where you're going to be living on your own. You're going to be forced to mingle with fellow students, go to class, work on your brain. You're going to get first-class coaching, medical, practice, travel, everything. Plus, you're going to be standing in Rupp Arena with 20,000 people screaming at you, trying to make a free throw with 1 second to go to beat the Cats. You can't duplicate that anywhere else. Not in the G League, not in, overtime elite. I mean, you name it. You cannot duplicate that. So college basketball is still the best training ground. I don't think that's going to change. Chasing a dollar, if you're good enough, you're going to make it. It doesn't matter whether you're playing at High Point or Kentucky or anywhere. They will find you. We want players, and if you can't do it, we'll go overseas to find them. So they'll find you. They'll find you. Don't be chasing the short dollar in expense of the long dollar. Kids who gave up their eligibility and don't make it, what are they going to do? They're 18, 19 years old and they're done. That doesn't seem fair. So I'd say college basketball, number one.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Like you said, the atmosphere, then also being able to still get education, go to class, socialize. Yeah. I mean, nothing beats it. Yeah, exactly. You still want to, enjoy your life. So, the college life is fun. So,
and trust me, the NBA will be there for you.
Okay, Bob. Well, thank you so much again for coming on the podcast today. It was a great pleasure having you. I mean, like I said before we even started this, I'm a huge fan of yours. So just keep up the great work, and I'm definitely going to be tuning into a lot of Atlanta Hawks basketball.
And we'll get together on campus this fall.
Hey, for sure. Thanks again for coming on, Bob.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, fellas. So that was a Sports Student interview with Bob Rathbun. Another big shout out to Bob for coming on the podcast. He was the first NBA play-by-play announcer I ever had on my podcast, and that is just crazy to say. Never in a million years did I think I was going to be able to get an NBA play-by-play announcer on my podcast, but I did, so I'm just so grateful I had that opportunity. Another shout out to Bob. You are awesome. Keep up the great work. But that'll do it for today's podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, my name's Wendell Epps, a.k.a. The Sports Student, and I will see you guys in my next one. All right, y'all. Take care. Sports Student signing out. Peace.